there's 6. How many have we got any spare chairs now?
There's one there.
You've got some.
You're going to sit down.
That was mine. Right, when's he start?
Sit down.
Do you want a couple just in the centre?
Well, we'll be alright. It looks like we're nearly full anyway, so just give it a couple more minutes. Make a start. Right, let's make a start now. We'll go for it, Dee.
Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Health and safety wise, there's a door open at the back, or you'll have to fight over each other and come out this way.
Yeah.
Toilets on the left.
Yeah, everybody follow me.
Be a hostess.
There's always a last one.
After you, we're next.
No, you're not. There is. Can I give you a chair?
Martin.
Martin, can I give you a chair?
I can't stand it, they'll confuse us.
Yeah.
Sit on the floor, Martin. Thank you.
No, you need a pink shirt to get confused.
Do not sit in front of me.
I told you I was wearing pink today.
I'll sit here.
Face that way.
If I sit here, I'll go looking at anybody.
Blocking the exit.
It's alright for us, we'll get out, we're alright.
I heard you wasn't very good, so I didn't think you'd be really here.
Well, it's amazing what £5 does.
Don't forget you're going for more than 238 viewers.
Is that like 238?
That's what Dale had.
Okay, great. Okay,
Right.
I'll switch it up. Or shall I ring Mum?
Yeah, ring them. Everybody ring your friends.
Right, good afternoon everybody. Hope everyone's had a nice day at Expo. This is the last event of the day. I like to call it headlining rather than the last one. And this I'm trying to cover a topic which I've certainly asked myself, and I'm sure everybody here has asked themselves over the years. Is social media only good for business, or is it just a complete waste of time? This is the kind of stuff you're going to love to hate, the school photos, back to school, the nice sunsets, I'm on holiday having a great time. What I had for breakfast, and there's obviously the memes that come up every now and then. Those flick through the feeds all the time. And this is the kind of thing that sort of does social media for business a disjustice, really. I'm not saying that any of these are no good for business, and I'm sure in their place, if you did school photography, it might be a useful thing to have. But in general, I think a lot of people see this kind of thing and think, what on earth has that got to do with my business? How can I use that for business? But should I use it? How can I use it? I said right at the beginning to quite a few people, I try not to use this phrase, but it does depend. Can it be used for business? It depends on a few things, but the main things I just wanted to cover, there's golden rules. Now I'm a bit nervous about golden rules because we all have our golden rules, and I'm sure Lynn here has probably got 8 different ones that she can go through as well. But these are the kind of things that I try and stick to and try and keep in the back of my mind. I've got 8 here. There's plenty more. They're fairly basic, and when you think about it, it does make sense. So communicate. We're obviously communicating with people. Communicate with the community. Don't communicate at people. Communicate with people. Try and be transparent, open, honest, genuine about what you're trying to say to people. Makes sense, but you'll see in a minute some of this doesn't really work sometimes. Sharing, we're providing unique value and value propositions, value experiences for people. Doesn't mean that we're creating new stuff. There's a thing, I can't remember the person that said it, there's very little new stuff out there really. We're just kind of taking different ideas and putting them into like a kaleidoscope of our own thoughts on things. So don't think you've got to come up with original stuff all the time. Measuring's a little bit more technical. We've obviously got the SM social media metrics, so we know our reach and our likes and our the clicks that we're coming through it, how many people liked it. That's fairly straightforward. Then you sort of, ideally, you need to know what's going on your website if you're taking people to a website. So what channel did they come through? Were they coming through from Twitter, from Facebook, from Instagram, from Snapchat, some another channel you're using? What they're doing on your website is obviously very important as well, because it might guide you as into what's actually happening before they get there, on what channel, where they're coming from. And again, a little bit more complicated. Are they actually converting?
You allowed in?
Yeah, come in. Yeah, I think there's a seat at the back you might have to stand. But feel free. So yeah, a little bit. Are people converting? Are they actually doing what you want them to do? I assume that you're doing Facebook or Twitter or some sort of social media for a reason. Surely that reason has to be some sort of conversion. Creating. Let's see, there's a few people here who do videos and photography. They really are videos and images rule. I'm sure you've all heard it. You've got to do videos. You've got to have images, but the attention rate that an image or a video has is hugely high. It's 65 to 91%. of more people will engage with the post if it has a photo or an image attached to it, or a video attached to it. But say originate doesn't have to be new. It can be, quite often you see things that are quite nice but you've got an opinion on it, or you've got a different take on it, or you don't agree with it. Don't feel afraid to not have to create new stuff, but use stuff that's already out there. A lot of people I go to say, I haven't really got much to say online. I don't really know. And someone who uses this quite well is Shane, a painter that I've known for a few years now. We all see the end product, and you only do so many end products, but you actually do work in progress stuff. And a lot of companies I go to say, oh, I've got nothing to say. Sea Safe in Cowes make life jackets. They took me through their workshop up to the offices upstairs. Like, wow, look at this equipment! You're sewing things, you're making things. It's a new world to many of us. Even though we use life jackets, we use equipment, we see paintings, we buy tea and coffee. We don't know how it's made. Betapack have got a new grinding machine. I'd love to see that. Bit of social media on that post makes it interesting. So it doesn't have to be. Ideally, it needs to be sort of open, transparent. Behind the scenes stuff works really well. So reflect is a good one. Step back, look at what you're doing, look at what others are doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And also, is it nice? The last rule really is reciprocate. Two-way relationship. The best way to have a relationship is to give 51% to whoever you're trying to get the relationship with. You see a lot of social causes and giveaways, but actually participating in something that people care about is really important. Another quick slide before I get into some examples. Choosing platforms is really important. I see a lot of people say, oh, I've got a Facebook page because they've got a Facebook page, but I'm not sure what I need to do with my Facebook page. Just because someone else has got it doesn't mean that you have to have it. It depends on what you want to do. Increasing brand awareness, you probably need to go with the numbers, the established, the Facebooks, Twitters, LinkedIn's, with large established channels. Enhancing lead generation depends, he says again, on your business. If it's B2B, you're probably looking at LinkedIn, relationship building on LinkedIn. Go where the numbers are for your product. If you're trying to market something to 60-year-old ladies who drive a certain type of car, then Snapchat might not be the thing for you.
I'm on Snapchat, and I'm in that bracket. Sorry, I'm the exception to the rule.
Sorry, I'll rewrite that one. Look at your competitors. It's a really quick and easy market. I'll go on to this in a minute, but looking at what your competitors are doing, it's a really easy thing to do. Look at what they're doing. Are they doing it well? Are they doing it useful? And can you take some of that and do your own thing? Again, depending on the type of content, industry updates, white papers, that's probably going to be around the B2B type thing, so probably LinkedIn for that sort of thing. Sharing video content, don't just think of YouTube. They say it depends. He says again, if it's short, snappy, you can put it on Twitter, you can use Instagram, you can use Snapchat. There's different content depending on your target market and what you're doing. If it's long form, yes, YouTube. Doesn't get much better than that. If you're just sharing image-based content, it might again be different what platform you're using, and the editorial content as well. And the last thing is, how many channels can you manage? Don't jump on them all because you think that they're all relevant to you. Number of websites I see where the icons along the bottom just go on and on and on. I don't even recognise some of the icons at the bottom. Then you go to some of them, they haven't been updated for 4, 5, 6 years because they just don't have the capacity to manage them. I just want to run through some examples of things that do work and things that don't work. These are I started thinking about doing some local examples, but I thought that wasn't particularly fair, so these are kind of things that I've just picked up off the internet that I've seen myself. This is a good example. Icelandair, again, I have no affinity with Icelandair. It's quite a nice message. Check out the forecast, that's quite interesting. It's got a northern lights, kind of interesting thing. Why does this work? Well, it's not a direct promotion. They're not trying to sell me anything. They're not trying to shove anything down my throat. It's actually quite interesting, quite informative. And it's sort of educational. I've never been to Iceland, I've not seen the Northern Lights. I'm vaguely interested in what forecast would be good for that. What's really good is it asks for engagement as well. So the last little bit here we've got, be sure to send us pictures and safe hunting. That's great. And if you scroll down, I can't do it here, if you scroll down, there were people posting pictures, lots of pictures, which is a great way of engaging. The more people that engage with this, the more people see it. And obviously they're building their database of people who have been to Iceland, are interested in Iceland, have looked at their posts. So it's all really valuable information coming back. They say so that they're communicating. These are the kind of, going back to the golden rules, they're communicating to you, not at you. They're with you. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're sharing it. They're creating some nice content. As I said, it's not, they've originated. It's not really even their own content. They've taken someone else's content, the Alaska.edu content, and they're using it for themselves. And they're reciprocating. They're saying, this is interesting. Why don't we share some stuff between ourselves as well? This is an example. These are Facebook up at the top, these two. This is an example of what doesn't work, why this doesn't work. Now we look at this, it's an ad, they're just trying to sell us something. This is the kind of scroll by ton of stuff. Long weird link. I mean, the problem with that long weird link as well, it's not even embedded in the post, so if I want to see what this video is about, I'll click on it, it'll take me away from Facebook. And, not many people want to do that. They're in Facebook to look for funny cat videos, and this has come up and taken me away somewhere. So there's no in-feed play on this, and the kind of thing, they're not really communicating with us. They haven't they're kind of telling me, they're posting it straight in my face. They want me to do something. They're not sharing anything that's interesting. Yes, they put an image on it. It's not really original kind of content, and they're not really reciprocating in any way. They just want to sell me something. This is something on Twitter. I quite like this one. So it's not a direct promotion. They're actually kind of give me something. They're saying, find out more here. It's a unique piece of content. They've obviously created something on their blog, and they're sending it out in a different format. And I expect they have used this same piece of content many times on different platforms with different headlines, with different images. So a lot of what I get asked is about blog. I've got nothing to post. So you need to think about what's unique to you, what is interesting to post. Creating blogs, although people say, oh no, blogs, I can't write, I don't know what to write about a blog. If you write a blog, it's a long-term piece of content. It's not something that these people, they say, we've written something about, 4 employee perks that work. I'm pretty certain, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty certain they've written one blog, and this will go out on probably Twitter several times, it'll go out onto Facebook, they'll repurpose the image and the headline, they'll put it on LinkedIn. It'll be used many times, and from a slightly different angle, from an SEO perspective, that is ongoing for a long time. The more people that look at that, click on it and come through to it, it helps you, and that blog will stay on your website for as long as the website exists. So to say, they've going back to this, it's quite a nice click-worthy type thing, and they're sort of targeting the management, they're targeting particular levels with what this message is aimed at, and they're doing subtle reinforcement of what they actually do. This tells me, I don't know who they are, but this tells me sort of what they do. So it's quite a nice subtle reinforcement. This is why it doesn't work. I think it's pretty obvious why this doesn't work. There's no images, this is just a scroll by. And it's not a small company, Stead & Simpson. Have a new brand, SS13 Styles. What on earth is that? I mean, the photo might have been nice. It's a really dull message, not particularly well spaced, not particularly well written. There's no call to action in it. There's nothing for me to do. So what I might have liked to have seen what an SS13 is. And it's kind of a so what, so what? I mean, there's probably 1,000 other shoe makers, shoe shops who are saying the same kind of thing. There's not really anything there for me to do. So hopefully you can see, that goes back to the golden rule, they're not really doing any of those golden rules there. So if you can see the distinction between the things that are working and the things that aren't working. I'm just going to go through one last one on LinkedIn. This is a Toshiba one. Again, large company. Why this is working, they've got a great image. This is probably an original image. They've probably got the luxury of having someone do this for them. The text within the ad as well, it lends context to the image. So it's not a random image that they've used. They've used an image that the text adds context to. There is some educational, probably quite engaging for a lot of people if they've targeted that. And it gives some brand reinforcement as well. Toshiba Smart Community, again, it is Toshiba. They get some context of what they do and a reinforcement of what they do. Again, it's communicating, it's original content. They've written this themselves. And what's nice as well, I'm not sure if it's from a previous one, but they're using, no, it's not this one, but a previous one was using a trackable link as well. So although on Facebook you can see who's clicked on links and that, because you can get free link clickers that you will track exactly who's clicked on what, where they do and where they go as well. This one wasn't one, I must have missed it in the previous one. Again, it's fairly obvious. This was what doesn't work on LinkedIn, if anyone uses LinkedIn. This is just a sales broadcast, in this case, selling some products. It's just a broadcast. There's no real value in this. Not really. They're not. There's no information here. They're not trying to build any relationship at all. They're just blasting out a little bit of information. They're communicating at us, not with us, not for us, not asking us for anything. They're not sharing anything unique. You know, they've got a product. They're trying to sell it. There's probably a good price on it. We don't know. They're not asking for any feedback. They're not asking us for any photos of us using it or any feedback on products. They're not asking us. They're not trying to work with us. Now, there's a lot of those are sort of examples of, you know, fairly clear, really. I mean, we'll sit here and think, well, yeah, that's fairly straightforward, fairly obvious. If you don't use social media in the right way for your business, it just becomes another thing to scroll past. Social media for business, if used correctly, and in the three examples that were correct here, it can work very well for brand and brand loyalty. You build up trust, you become kind of a centre of knowledge, and people keep you as part of their mind share. You can connect with a target audience. You know, if you've done your research, you know where that target audience is, you know what they're doing, and you can target your message to that audience. Improving client retention. I mean, that's a bit of a, when I wrote that down, I thought, ooh, it's a bit of a woolly one. But actually, if you're constantly in people's minds, if you're there as part of the process of their social media presence, you are part of their mind share. And you will be, as long as you will be one of the first people they contact when they want a product and service from you. Again, if you get it right, customers didn't even know existed, they'll find you. If people like what you do, share what you do, comment on what you do, the more you interact with a post on social media, generally the more people get to see it. So people that don't even know you will find you. Increases traffic conversions, and using social media boosts your site's SEO as well, which is nice. One thing about these as well, majority of them are free. When we get into the paid section, running targeted ads with real-time results, although we're all quite happy to advertise in, you know, offline media. One thing about the online media is you can see results instantly. If you start running ad campaigns or doing certain activities online, you get instant feedback, which is quite nice. Geo-targeted content, so we can actually target people in Wootton today, or actually you could have targeted people who are using the hashtag IWBizExpo.
Yeah.
Think about that, not the easiest one to roll off the tongue. So you can target people very specifically on these platforms, but you have to pay for it. I say demographically targeted, it's not just demographics as well, it's behaviours as well. If anyone who's used Facebook or Twitter advertising, you'll know that you can target people very closely, so people who are having particular life events, relationships, just married, just getting engaged, they visited the Isle of Wight last week, all these, there's a lot of metrics you can do, and interestingly...
You've got an echo.
Sorry?
It wasn't me.
I don't know what I've done now. That slide didn't work very well. Ooh, there we go. Ah, yes, specific uses. Okay. I say right back at the beginning, monitoring your competition. Social media is a really good way of seeing what your competition is up to. Obviously, you don't get the full story of what's going on. So in terms of business uses, even if you're not on the platform with your business per se, you can see what other companies are doing. What is really nice as well is when it comes to segment point 2, target your competition's audiences, particularly with Twitter, you can actually target your direct competitor with your own message, which can directly, you know, influence their decisions. So using a mix of hashtags and name tags within Twitter, you can actually directly contact your audience of your competitor, which is quite interesting. You can target key influencers as well. Twitter's a great one. I know many years ago I thought Twitter was a complete pointless load of rubbish. Now I quite like it because of things like what I just said, and because of target key influencers. It's not a reciprocal thing. I can follow anybody. It's not like Facebook where I have to say, you know, sorry, LinkedIn where I have to say, oh, can you connect with me, connect with you, oh, that's nice, now we know each other. I can follow anyone on Twitter, I can target anyone on Twitter. If I find the right people to follow on Twitter, then I've got a good chance of them following me back. If I can use Twitter properly in the way we described in a couple of slides earlier, then I will start to appear on their feed. They will start to know what I do. They will understand what I do. And there's a company on the island that I work with who has worked very well. We contacted connected with a few key influencers, and after 6 months of feeding this information, they actually came to us and said, "That's really interesting, we'd like to do an interview with you." And this was an industry-wide publication, global publication, and that had a huge effect on their business, and that was just through kind of connecting with the key influencers. I've mentioned this just briefly earlier. Geographic and demographic targeting. It's great, we're on a really defined area. If your business is on the island, you can target just people on the island. You can target just people on the island with a certain interest or a certain pattern of behaviour or a certain like profile or following a certain key influencer. It's not endless and you can't do everything, but it's very interesting what you can do. It gets a little bit more expensive the tighter you target, but they're the right people you're connecting with. Demographic profiling, so life events and behavioural targeting as well. Nice one, particularly on Facebook, things like lookalike audiences. If you have a mailing list, you can upload that and then you can target your customers. Also, you can say, I want to target people that look alike my customers. So it depends, again, he says, what your audience is and what your product is. But there's a good chance that you can use Facebook in terms of my mailing list and my lookalike audiences and targeting your competitors. That they will be people who will want to engage with your product as well. Summary. Social media does work for business. Now I'm sure you're all going to expect me to conclude that at the end. I wasn't going to say it's a load of rubbish. It can be a load of rubbish, and I do see people doing a load of rubbish. And I've done things that you can think, that's a bit rubbish. But if you understand your strategy, and I think when I speak to people, they say, "Oh, you need a strategy." I go, "Oh my God, we've got to sit down and work out what that all is," and a big kind of pause in their thought process. Strategy doesn't have to be that difficult. Strategy can be simple. I want to find people who live in stately homes, who have problems with the construction of their house, or damp, or mouse problems or something, whatever it is. No, it wasn't random, I know we've got elbows in there.
Look at me and think rats.
Yeah, I think rats and wasps.
Pests.
Rodents. So I've done a bit of research on that. So it's not strategy as in all encompassing. You must have a strategy. You know your business. You must have an overarching strategy of, are we advertising the county press or the beacon for this? What are you going to use social media? What's your end goal? Where you want to get to? It might go, and I have come to people where we look at the strategy and say, well, that's no good and that's no good, and this would probably work, but I'm not really sure it's going to work for you. You're just in completely the wrong business for it, and they've not done social media. So your strategy just needs to focus on what you want to achieve. What do you want at the end of it? It's not that complicated, really. Choosing the right platforms depending on that strategy. As I say, don't choose Snapchat or LinkedIn or for the wrong thing. It'll be a waste of time, generally. I think you appreciate the golden rules. Okay, I've had 8 golden rules up there. They all largely make sense. Don't say you have to learn and abide by every single one of them, or we all send out stuff that is kind of a bit off pattern. Maybe we do send a picture of the Christmas tree. No problem with that. But there is some sort of appreciation of the guidelines of actually, we communicate with people, not at them. We ask for some sort of feedback and reciprocal kind of agreement between the two of us. You're giving them something. So there's a lot of things like free downloads or new blog or this information, or there's something in it for both of you, basically. You see, understand what works and what doesn't. There's no golden bullet here. There's nothing kind of, I can't say these will work, these won't. Apart from those 6 I gave you, so 3 of those will work, 3 of those won't. There's no golden bullet, and part of it, and I said measurement at the beginning of it, it's kind of, ooh, how do we measure that? Measurement isn't the end, measurement is the beginning. You start using social media and you use the measurement to say, that didn't work very well, that worked better. Don't just think, I did it, it didn't work, never mind. You can use that measurement at the beginning of the process of making what you do better. And so sometimes you have to pay. Certainly over the last 2 or 3 years, certainly the likes of Facebook and Twitter are getting more into it, and certainly LinkedIn. If you really want to perform something really specific, I'm afraid you have to pay. That's where they make money, that's where they make a lot of money. But done properly, you should be able to benefit from it too. Otherwise, it's largely a waste of time, I have to say. If you don't do it properly, it can be a waste of time. So that's basically what I want to cover there. It's pretty whistle stop. I have to apologise because I did have a cup of that beta pack coffee just before I came in here, and I don't usually drink caffeine, and I'm absolutely wired at the moment. So that was probably cut 6 minutes off the presentation. To see.
Good advert for beta.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is great coffee. I don't have it with the milk. Have it black. It's really quite nice. So has anyone got any questions on that? Or was it stony silence of kind of? Is that it? Yeah.
I think the only thing I'd raise from experience is we do a lot of this.
Yeah.
And we use not so much Twitter now, because what we found was that they're actually targeting all those engines around the world.
Yeah.
We were getting a lot of traffic from them as junk.
Yeah.
You know, and we could actually pinpoint IP addresses, so we can. So you have to go through this exercise of blocking countries and blocking things and excluding.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's quite a major. You can target your country and resell it in 27 countries. So
Yeah.
we sort of target a country and write a message, but then we have to target all the countries around it not to send the message, because otherwise we'll target, but you'll then look at the traffic and the map is full.
Yes.
So we track all of our own links and then put them on a map, see where it's actually coming from.
Yeah. So that goes back to the measurement. You know, if you just start sending stuff out and you're getting all this traffic back in that just isn't relevant to you and is taking up your time, that's the time when you've obviously measured it, you've decided what the problem is, and you've gone and done something about it.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
you
just
2 or 3 years.
So you can do targeting, so geographic targeting, but you just have to be careful of what kind of rubbish is that's coming in, and you've measured it and done an action against it. Anyone else? Well, fantastic. I like that. That means we get to another half hour out of the schedule. So thank you very much for coming.
Can I just ask
yes.
one? The geo-tracking.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that work based on where the person lives when they've registered their Facebook account, or is it where the GPS last picked that account up?
It's where the person resides within Facebook. So if I say I live in Totland on the Isle of Wight, you target me in Totland on the Isle of Wight, I will get that.
So can
message.
you geo-target by GPS?
You can, that's something different. That's what, we were in another talk earlier, that's something different, but not in Facebook, you can't do that.
Right.
I've not done that. What are you thinking you want to do?
Well, I'm visitors in the tourist industry on the Isle of Wight. You want the visitors they're not based here, or they're based somewhere else.
Oh, you can target people who are visiting the Isle of Wight.
Who are visiting.
Yeah.
On the geo, using the geo.
Well, it knows when people are visiting the Isle of Wight, or when they've updated their status to include Isle of Wight. So you can look at doing something like that.
Then? If they didn't update their status, would you
I'm not sure if Facebook tracks that automatically, whether they're on or visited the Isle of Wight. I'll have to look at it. I've not done that before. I did speak to someone the other day who was doing something very similar around people that are having weddings on the Isle of Wight. And I can't remember who that is right now.
I just wondered if it was actually using a GPS.
I can find out for you.
Phone is.
Yeah, I'll take your card and I'll find out for you, because someone I suppose who did exactly that. I'll ask him for you. Anything else? Okay.
Tristan's saying Facebook does track depending on the settings.
There we go.
Answer coming in from out there.
Thank you, Tristan. Nice one.
He says it was a great presentation, by the way.
Thank you. As long as you're still awake. Well, thank you everybody for coming this afternoon. If you've got any other questions, then just feel free to give me a call, drop me an email. I'm happy to help. If you've got just random stuff, then I can help if I can. If not, well, thank you very much. And, right. So. hour and a half to enjoy the rest of the day.
So thank you everybody for watching. We are down at the Isle of Wight Chamber of Commerce Expo here at the Lakeside in Wootton, and that was one of the last seminars. I think that was the last seminar of the day. That was Chris Court. We're lucky that this broadcast has been brought to us and sponsored by It's Nomad 9, which is a digital media agency that puts social at the heart. And so thank you everybody for coming in, and catch you on another broadcast very soon.